The sky above the city of Arlen was no longer the soft blue of a peaceful morning. It had turned molten, a fiery smear that whispered doom with every flicker. Smoke rose in thick pillars from shattered buildings, black and choking, carrying the screams of those who had no warning. Humanity had known fear before: famine, disease, wars among themselves, but nothing like this. The invaders had arrived silently, their ships blotting out the sun like enormous living shadows. Amidst the chaos, a man named Elias ran. His boots pounded cracked streets littered with debris, shards of glass reflecting the eerie glow of alien energy. Elias was not a soldier, not a hero in any traditional sense. He was a father, a brother, a carpenter. Yet now, as the alien war machines roared behind him, the survival of countless humans rested on his instincts alone. "Stay close, Mira," he shouted, gripping the small hand of his daughter. Mira, only 8, her dark hair tangled and dust-streaked, matched his pace as best she could. Her eyes, wide with terror, mirrored a horror that Elias could scarcely comprehend. He wanted to shield her from it, from the burning city and the monstrous silhouettes of the alien army, but he could not. All he could do was run, pray, and cling to hope that they might see another sunrise. The aliens were not like humans. Their forms were fluid, almost shimmering, yet their presence exuded a cold inevitability. Each footfall of their titanic machines crushed cars, trees, and concrete alike. Yet for all their size, for all their technological terror, they were not invincible. Humanity's weapons, crude and desperate though they were, had started to wound them. Elias had seen it with his own eyes that morning. Soldiers with rifles and homemade explosives had slowed one of the alien legions, their fire like sparks against an immovable wall. And then something impossible had happened. The alien commander, a towering creature of molten metal and glowing red eyes, had paused, as if surprised. And then it had fallen. Explosions and gunfire had erupted in a storm of noise and light. It was brief, but it changed everything. Humans began to believe. Elias ducked into the ruins of an old library. Mira pressed close to him. The smell of smoke and paper burned in his lungs. Inside he found other survivors, their faces pale but alive. Among them was Leora, a nurse with a calm strength that seemed to radiate even in the shadow of annihilation. Her hands shook slightly, but she spoke with unwavering clarity. "They're strong but not infallible," she said. "We've seen it. Humans can fight and humans can win." Her words struck Elias like a bell, awakening a part of him he hadn't known existed. Perhaps they could survive. Perhaps they could fight back. Outside, the alien machines resumed their relentless advance. Their weapons glowed with lethal precision, disintegrating anything in their path. Yet from the streets a sound rose, a chorus of resistance. Humans armed with whatever they could find, bows, rifles, molten metal traps, formed lines, refusing to bow to inevitability. It was chaos, but it was courage. It was human spirit, savage in its raw determination. Elias found himself drawn forward, not out of duty, but necessity. Mira's small fingers clutched his sleeve, her eyes questioning and trusting all at once. He would not let the world take her from him. Not yet. Not while hope still lived, flickering like a candle in the storm. And then, as he stepped into the open street, a low hum began. It was not the sound of the alien machines, but of something else, something ancient and relentless. The humans around him paused, fear and curiosity mingling, and from the center of the city, a tower of light erupted, a beacon that drew the eyes of friend and foe alike. It was the beginning of legends. The aliens faltered. They had come expecting an easy conquest. They had not counted on the savage heartbeat of humanity, a pulse that refused to stop, a spirit that would not bend. And in that instant, Elias realized the truth. Survival was not enough. Humanity would fight, not because it had to, but because it could, and because it was human. The first shots of rebellion rang out, sharp and unrelenting. The city of Arlen became the cradle of defiance. And somewhere, deep in the chaos, a single thought took root in Elias's mind. This is just the beginning. The streets of Arlen were no longer merely a battlefield. They had become a testament to human defiance. Smoke curled from burning buildings, mingling with the sharp scent of ozone from alien weaponry. Every corner held danger, yet every corner also held hope. Humanity had discovered something remarkable. Even the most terrifying enemy could bleed. Elias moved cautiously, Mira at his side. Her small hand fit perfectly in his, a fragile tether that reminded him of what he fought for. But the calm he had felt when Leora first spoke had not lasted. The reality of war was harsh, brutal, and unforgiving. He had seen friends fall, neighbors disintegrated in a flash of alien energy, and yet in their eyes he also saw something else, a stubborn spark that refused to die. Leora joined them, carrying a small satchel of medical supplies. Her gaze scanned the ruined city with precision, noting each threat, each opportunity. "We can't hold them here forever," she said. "But we can make them bleed, slow them down. That gives others a chance, others who are still alive." Elias nodded. He did not need her to explain. He had seen it himself. Humans fighting with makeshift weapons against machines that should have crushed them in seconds. Yet somehow they persisted. Arlen was alive with that strange, relentless courage. The first raid they joined was chaotic. Human fighters armed with scavenged rifles, homemade explosives, and whatever courage they could muster, ambushed a patrol of alien scouts. The air vibrated with gunfire screams and the alien shriek of machines reacting to damage. Elias felt his heart pound, not with fear but with the thrill of survival and the dawning realization of their power. Humans could fight back, and they were beginning to understand how. Mira clutched his leg, eyes wide, as a massive alien walker stumbled from a sudden explosion. Sparks rained from its body, and for the first time Elias saw a flicker of uncertainty in the invader's movements. The alien, a creature of terrifying design, had always seemed invincible. But now, facing humans who refused to die quietly, it hesitated. It was enough. The resistance fighters cheered, a sound that was equal parts fear and triumph. Leora's hand rested on Elias's shoulder. "They're learning," she whispered. "Every day they learn, but so are we." They moved deeper into the city where shadows offered both cover and danger. Elias caught glimpses of human ingenuity in the chaos. Barricades built from overturned buses, tunnels dug to avoid patrols, and signals passed silently from one survivor to another. It was a network born of desperation, but it carried the unmistakable heartbeat of strategy and unity. And yet with every victory came loss. A young fighter named Jonas, barely older than Mira, was vaporized in front of them, caught in the blast of an alien pulse cannon. Elias felt a cold knot in his stomach. Grief mingled with determination, sharpening his resolve. Humans were fragile, yes, but fragility could be transformed into resilience. Pain could become fuel. Fear could become strength. That night, they took refuge in an abandoned factory. The firelight flickered across their tired faces, painting them with shadows of exhaustion and resolve. Mira slept against Elias's chest, unaware of the full horrors outside. Leora moved among the survivors, treating wounds, offering quiet encouragement, a pillar of calm in the storm. Elias stared out a broken window at the city below, a landscape of ruin and defiance. He thought of the beacon of light that had erupted in the heart of Arlen, the signal that had called every remaining human to rise. Legends, he realized, were born in moments like these, moments of courage that refused to bow to fear. "Tomorrow," he murmured to himself, "we show them who we are. We show them what it means to be human." He did not yet know how or with what weapon or tactic, but he knew this. Humanity would not wait to be destroyed. They would carve their survival from the hands of fate itself. Every shot fired, every strategy devised, every small act of bravery was another stone laid in the foundation of a legend that would echo across worlds. And somewhere in the darkness, the aliens paused again. Their sensors detected movement, adaptation, and defiance. They had expected obedience, silence, collapse. What they did not anticipate was fire, the raw, savage, unyielding fire of human will. In the quiet moments before dawn, Elias felt a strange serenity. For the first time, he allowed himself a glimmer of hope. Humanity was wounded, yes, but not broken. Scarred, yes, but not defeated. And in that fragile hope, the seeds of something extraordinary began to grow. A resistance that would not merely survive, but conquer. Tomorrow, the city would rise again. Tomorrow, humanity would roar, and somewhere in that roar, legends would begin. The city of Arlen was no longer a place of shelter. It had become a fortress of will. Rubble lined every street, but in the cracks and shadows, life persisted. The human resistance was growing bolder, more organized, as though the chaos itself had sharpened their minds and hardened their hearts. Elias stood on the edge of a collapsed overpass. Mira perched on his shoulder, watching the alien patrols below. He had become something he never imagined, a strategist, a guide, a protector. And though fear still whispered in his chest with every alien step, it was joined now by something stronger, a relentless determination. Beside him, Leora crouched, scanning the streets through binoculars. "They're adapting," she murmured, her voice a mix of awe and caution. "They expected us to scatter, to hide. But we're learning too, faster than they imagined." Elias nodded. He thought of every explosion, every trap, every victory they had fought tooth and nail to achieve. Each encounter with the alien invaders had taught them something new. Their weapons, crude as they seemed, had begun to find weaknesses in the seemingly invincible machines. Humans were clever. Humans were unpredictable, and that unpredictability was becoming their greatest weapon. The first organized strike of the resistance was daring and precise. Using tunnels beneath the city, they emerged behind an alien patrol, setting fire to supply pods with Molotovs and homemade charges. The alien units responded with furious precision, their energy pulses slicing through the streets with deadly intent. But the humans, nimble and fearless, vanished into shadows before the invaders could retaliate. Elias fought at the forefront, Mira safely tucked in the arms of Leora. The sound of gunfire, explosions, and alien shrieks became a symphony of survival. Every shot he fired was an act of defiance. Every move he made was a declaration that humanity would not bow, yet victory was never without cost. Jonas, the young fighter they had lost in the first skirmish, was remembered with each ambush. Grief pressed heavy on their shoulders, a constant reminder that even heroes could fall. But Elias understood something profound. Loss did not weaken them. It sharpened their resolve, made them fiercer, more determined. Humanity's heart beat strongest in the shadow of fear. By midday, they had cleared a sector of the city. Makeshift barricades and traps slowed the alien advance, giving other survivors a chance to escape. Children ran with their parents, carrying the fragile hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Each human who survived, each person who refused to succumb, became part of the growing legend of Arlen. And then the aliens struck back. From the horizon, a column of titanic war machines emerged, moving with terrifying precision. Their shadows swallowed the streets, and their energy weapons carved arcs of fire across buildings. The humans froze, hearts pounding. They had won small victories, but now they faced a force that seemed unstoppable once more. Elias clenched his fists. Mira, sensing his fear but trusting his strength, squeezed his hand. Leora's eyes were cold and sharp, a spark of defiance igniting in their midst. "We fight," she said simply. "We fight because we are human. That is our power." The resistance surged forward. This time it was no longer a scattered struggle. It was a coordinated attack. Humans used every advantage. Narrow streets, traps, fires, and ingenuity. They moved like water, slipping past alien patrols, striking where the machines were weakest. A great walker stumbled as a rigged building collapsed on it. Sparks flew, its energy core flickered, and humans cheered, not with triumph, but with the primal joy of defiance. Elias felt a surge of pride and fear, of hope and despair intertwined. Humans were fragile yet formidable. They could die in seconds, yet in their courage they became unstoppable. Every human in that fight, every child hiding, every fighter running alongside, every healer tending wounds, was a thread woven into the fabric of legend. By nightfall, the alien assault had faltered. Machines lay smoldering in the streets, their commanders disoriented. Humans, battered and exhausted, claimed the battlefield not with invincibility, but with relentless will. As they gathered in the shadow of a ruined skyscraper, Elias looked at Mira, her eyes still wide, now reflected understanding, courage, and hope. He understood something profound. Humanity did not need to be the strongest to prevail. They needed heart. They needed fire. They needed belief in one another. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is only the beginning," she said. "We have shown them we can fight. But now we must show them we can endure." The survivors lit fires, sending their smoke into the night sky, a signal, a beacon, a declaration. They were not gone. They were not beaten. And the aliens, vast and calculating, would learn that humanity was far more than flesh and bone. Humanity was spirit, and in that spirit a legend was being born, one that would not end in the ashes of Arlen, but in the echoing triumph of the human heart. The first light of dawn cast a pale glow over the ruined city of Arlen. Smoke still curled from shattered buildings, and the scent of burning metal lingered like a memory of the night before. The humans were tired, bruised, and scarred, yet their spirits burned brighter than any fire around them. They had survived. They had struck back. And now they would fight with purpose. Elias walked among the survivors, Mira following closely. His eyes, once filled with panic and doubt, now held determination. He had become more than a protector. He had become a symbol. Every time he acted, the people around him saw courage reflected in his every movement. Leora approached him, a map clutched in her hands. Her eyes were sharp and resolute. "We can take the central command," she said. "It's heavily guarded, yes, but if we strike there, we cut their control over the city. It's a chance to turn the tide entirely." Elias felt a shiver of fear, but it was quickly replaced by a surge of resolve. The humans had fought in shadows, in desperate ambushes, and yet they were still here. If they could carry the fight to the heart of the alien force, then perhaps, just perhaps, humanity could show the universe something that no alien could predict. Savage, unyielding will. The plan was audacious. Using tunnels beneath the city, the humans would emerge near the central command. Engineers had rigged explosives in abandoned factories and buildings, ready to collapse sections of the streets to trap and confuse the alien forces. Every detail was crucial, every life precious. As night fell, they moved. Elias led a small group of fighters, Mira safely tucked away in a reinforced carrier. The tunnels were damp and narrow, the walls trembling with the distant thrum of alien machinery above. Every step was tense, every sound amplified by fear and anticipation. Finally, they emerged into the open, directly beneath the alien command tower. The city stretched around them, silent except for the distant hum of the machines. Humans moved like shadows, silent and precise. Then the first alarm rang out. An alien patrol spotted the intruders. Energy pulses blazed across the street, igniting fires and scattering debris. Elias felt his heart pound as the humans responded, not with panic but with precision. Explosions ripped through the alleyways, traps sprung, and the aliens faltered. Each step was a battle of wits, a clash of wills. Mira's small fingers gripped his arm. "Papa, be careful," she whispered. Her voice was trembling, yet her eyes held trust, faith, and courage far beyond her years. Elias knelt, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I will always be careful, Mira. But we fight because we must. We fight because we are human." The humans pressed forward, scaling rubble, ducking behind shattered vehicles, and using every ounce of cunning to navigate the alien defenses. Leora's voice cut through the chaos. "Left, no, the right, watch the flank." Her calm precision was a beacon, guiding their desperate strike. And then they reached the heart of the command tower. The alien leader, a monstrous being of metal and organic tissue fused into a terrifying silhouette, turned its glowing eyes toward them. It radiated a sense of inevitability, as if the humans were nothing more than insects beneath its gaze. Elias felt fear coil in his stomach, yet he also felt something stronger, defiance. The battle erupted with violent clarity. Humans surged forward, weapons blazing, explosives igniting, every movement calculated yet fierce. The alien leader struck back, powerful energy beams slicing through walls and earth alike. But the humans were relentless. Every fallen comrade inspired the others to fight harder. Every near-death escape became a lesson, a moment of ingenuity. Elias found himself face to face with the alien commander. The being towered over him, impossibly large, its glowing eyes scanning his every move. Elias could feel its intelligence, its cruelty, and its disbelief. The alien expected fear, obedience, collapse, but it had underestimated humanity. With a roar that echoed through the broken streets, Elias struck not with strength but with cunning, agility, and desperation. He dodged, lured, and maneuvered, creating openings for Leora and the others to strike. Together they wove a web of resistance, unyielding, untamed, and savage. Explosions rocked the tower. Sparks rained down, illuminating human faces set in grim determination. Slowly, the alien leader faltered, confused and injured. Its energy core flickered, then faltered again under the relentless human assault. And as it fell, Elias felt the weight of something extraordinary. Humanity could fight against the impossible. Humanity could endure against the inevitable. And humanity could triumph, not because they were stronger, but because they refused to surrender. The command tower collapsed in a controlled chain of explosions, sending debris and fire into the night sky. The humans cheered, but their victory was tempered by the knowledge that the war was far from over. Yet in that moment they had shown the universe that even the greatest machines could not break the human spirit. Mira ran to Elias, wrapping her arms around him. "We did it, Papa," she whispered. Her voice trembled with awe, fear, and joy. Elias hugged her tightly. "No, Mira," he said softly, his voice strong despite exhaustion. "We will do it. We are human, and this is only the beginning." Above the city, the fires of battle burned bright, illuminating a human force that refused to be broken. Somewhere deep in the alien ranks, recognition dawned. Humanity was no ordinary species, savage, relentless, clever, and terrifying in its capacity to survive. In the shadows of Arlen, the first legends began to solidify, not of kings or conquerors, but of ordinary humans, daring to defy fate itself. The ruins of Arlen were quiet but not peaceful. Smoke still hung in the air like a stubborn memory, and the streets bore the scars of battle. The humans had won a monumental victory, yet victory carried no comfort, only the weight of responsibility. Every life saved, every enemy machine destroyed had shifted the balance of the war, but the alien forces were far from defeated. Elias walked through the city with Mira perched on his shoulder. The girl had grown in ways beyond her years, her eyes carrying the hard-earned wisdom of survival. Even in sleep she seemed alert, ready to face threats that no child should ever know. Elias admired her courage but feared the toll it would take on her. Humanity's strength was bound to its spirit, but even the spirit could be tested too far. Leora approached, her eyes scanning the horizon with unyielding intensity. "They're regrouping," she said, her voice a mix of urgency and calm. "They underestimated us, yes, but now they've learned. They will come back stronger, smarter, and this time, they will not hesitate." Elias clenched his fists. He had anticipated this. The alien mind was cold, relentless, and calculating. Their victories could easily turn into traps. Yet he also knew that humans, savage in their persistence, could meet force with force, intellect with intellect, courage with courage. The first signs of the alien counterattack were subtle. Drones hovered silently above the ruins, scanning every street. Machines moved at night, careful, deliberate, avoiding traps while sending signals to the larger forces gathering beyond the city's edge. Humans sensed the tension like an electric charge. Every shadow could hide death. Every sound could herald attack. And then the first assault came. It was psychological as much as it was physical. Alien machines struck in patterns designed to terrify. Cities burned in waves, alarms blared in human strongholds, and holographic projections of fallen humans were broadcast across streets, mocking survivors. Fear rippled through the ranks. Some fled, some froze, but Elias and Leora reminded them why they fought. "We survive because we are human," Leora shouted to a group of panicked civilians. "We endure because we refuse to surrender. Every step they take against us, we take two forward. Do not let fear rule you." Humans rallied. They struck back not in panic but in strategy. Using the knowledge gained from the previous battles, they laid traps, ambushes, and diversions. The alien forces, vast and calculating, began to stumble. They had underestimated the complexity of human thought, the capacity to adapt, to improvise, to turn desperation into brilliance. Elias found himself at the forefront of one of these skirmishes. A column of alien machines advanced down a wide avenue, their energy cannons glowing ominously. He signaled the human fighters. The streets erupted with a coordinated chaos of fire, explosions, and human ingenuity. Makeshift barricades fell at precise moments, traps triggered, and humans struck from unexpected angles. The aliens, masters of technology, could not predict the relentless human adaptability. One machine after another faltered, sparks flying as energy cores flickered. Humans cheered with every victory, but Elias felt no triumph, only focus. Every success was temporary, every moment of rest a prelude to the next trial. That night, as the city smoldered under a sky torn by distant fires, Elias sat with Mira and Leora atop a crumbled rooftop. The girl leaned against him, exhausted yet vigilant. "Papa," she whispered, "why do we fight if it's so scary? Elias stroked her hair gently. Because fear is what makes us human, Mira. And humans can turn fear into fire. We fight because we must survive, yes, but also because we refuse to bow to anything that says we cannot. Leora nodded, placing her hand over his. They are learning about humanity now. Every battle we fight teaches them and teaches us. But never forget this. They may be powerful, but they cannot match courage. They cannot match heart. That is our weapon. In the distance, a low hum rose, the sound of alien forces regrouping and preparing. It was not the roar of victory, but the quiet drum of inevitability. And yet, in the human hearts gathered beneath the stars, there was something stronger, a defiance that could not be silenced, a spirit that would not yield. The fires of Arlen were more than destruction. They were a message. Every flame, every scarred street, every human still standing shouted one truth across the world. Humanity would not be crushed. They were savage, relentless, and brilliant in ways no alien could calculate. Legends were no longer whispers in the ruins. They were awakening. And somewhere, deep in the chaos, the first echoes of humanity's indomitable spirit began to spread beyond Arlen, reaching ears and hearts that would shape the war yet to come. Elias looked at Mira, at Leora, and at the small band of survivors around them. Their eyes reflected exhaustion, grief, and yet an unshakable fire. The aliens could return, stronger and crueler than ever, but humans had something no machine could ever take: heart. And with heart, the hopeless could be turned to dust. The morning air was thick with smoke and the sharp tang of ozone. Arlen was no longer just a city. It was a battlefield transformed into a forge, where fear was melted away and replaced by unbreakable resolve. Humanity had survived wave after wave of alien attacks, and now, something remarkable had begun. They were no longer merely defending. They were preparing to strike. Elias stood atop a crumbling building, Mira beside him, her small hands clutching his sleeve. His eyes swept across the streets below, noting every barricade, every trap, every sign of alien presence. He had learned to see not just the battlefield, but the potential within it. Every fallen building, every ruined street could be weaponized, turned into advantage. Humanity had begun to turn ruin into art, chaos into strategy. Leora joined him, her gaze unwavering. "We strike tonight," she said. Her voice carried no hesitation, only precision. "They are regrouping near the northern sector. If we hit them there, we cut off reinforcements and cripple their supply lines. The tide will turn in our favor if we succeed." Elias felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was not a small raid or desperate ambush. This was war in full measure, a bold human gamble against an enemy that had once seemed unstoppable. Yet he also knew something profound. Humanity had no choice but to embrace courage. Fear was a luxury they could not afford. As night fell, the humans moved like shadows through the ruined city. Each fighter carried weapons scavenged from previous battles, every tool adapted with ingenuity born of necessity. Mines were hidden beneath rubble, flamethrowers rigged from fuel tanks, traps set with the precision of desperate artists. Humans had become hunters, strategists, and survivors in one. The alien forces, massive and calculating, advanced with their typical cold precision. But they were unprepared for the fury and ingenuity of human strategy. Explosions erupted in their ranks as they stumbled into carefully laid traps. Streets seemed to shift and change, guiding the aliens into ambushes where human fighters struck from unexpected angles. Elias led a strike team through a narrow alley. Mira stayed with Leora, safe in a fortified carrier. The air vibrated with the roar of battle, the screech of alien machinery, and the shouts of determined humans. Every move was synchronized, every decision critical. Humans were no longer merely reacting. They were dictating the pace of the fight. At the heart of the northern sector, the largest alien command machine awaited. It radiated menace, a towering figure of metal and alien ingenuity. Its energy weapons blazed, disintegrating anything in its path. But humanity did not falter. Elias signaled, and a coordinated strike erupted. Explosives detonated, creating chaos and confusion among the alien ranks. Fighters struck from rooftops, alleys, and behind barricades. The alien machine staggered, sparks flying from its armor as humans exploited every weakness. In that moment, Mira spoke, her voice carrying above the din. "Papa, we can do this." Elias felt a surge of pride and determination. It was not strength alone that would defeat the invaders, but courage, ingenuity, and unity. Humans fought with heart as much as skill, and in that heart lay a power no machine could calculate. The alien leader roared, unleashing waves of energy, but humans adapted, dodged, and struck with relentless precision. Leora's team disabled the machine's power core while Elias and a small strike group drew its attention away. Sparks flew, and then the colossal enemy fell, shattering into pieces that rained across the streets. The humans cheered, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance and triumph. Arlen had survived again, and this time humanity had not merely defended, they had struck a blow so decisive that the alien forces reeled in disbelief. Elias held Mira close as they watched the fires die down. "We did more than survive," he said softly. "We proved that nothing can stop us when we fight together." Leora's eyes shone in the firelight. "This is how legends begin," she said. "Not with power or weapons, but with courage. Every human who stands, every mind that thinks, every heart that refuses to surrender, this is our strength." Above the city, the stars shone through the smoke, silent witnesses to the birth of human legends. Somewhere beyond the horizon, other survivors would hear of Arlen's defiance, and the courage of humans would spread like wildfire. The battle was far from over. The aliens would regroup, adapt, and strike again. But humanity had discovered a truth stronger than any technology. A savage, relentless spirit that could turn hopeless odds to dust. And in the hearts of Elias, Mira and Leora, and every human who had dared to fight, a legend was no longer a story waiting to be told. It was alive. It was unstoppable. The sun rose over Arlen, piercing the smoke-filled sky with shafts of golden light. The city was scarred, broken, yet alive, a testament to resilience, courage, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. For weeks, humans had fought against impossible odds, standing against alien machines that had once seemed invincible, and now the final battle had come. Elias stood atop a ruined tower, Mira clinging to his side. Her eyes, wide and unyielding, mirrored the determination in his own. Below, the alien armies advanced in vast numbers, a sea of metal and terror. Yet Elias no longer felt fear, not the paralyzing fear of the early days. He felt purpose, fire, and clarity. Humanity was not merely fighting to survive. They were fighting to define themselves, to show the universe that no force could crush the human heart. Leora joined him, her hands steady, her gaze unwavering. "They've learned fear," she said. "Now it's our turn to teach them something they cannot comprehend. Courage without limits, will without boundaries, heart without surrender." Elias nodded. Humans across Arlen had rallied. Survivors from the outer districts, soldiers and civilians alike, had converged, armed with ingenuity and resolve. Makeshift catapults hurled flaming debris, barricades funneled the alien machines into traps, and every alleyway, rooftop, and underground tunnel was a battlefield crafted with care. Humans were no longer reactive. They were orchestrators of chaos, turning ruin into weaponry, desperation into strategy. The first wave hit. Alien war machines, colossal and relentless, smashed through the streets. Energy weapons tore through concrete, lighting up the night like molten streaks of fury. Humans scattered and dodged, striking from hidden vantage points, collapsing buildings at precise moments, cutting off enemy reinforcements. Every action was synchronized, every step calculated. Elias led a team forward, Mira safely behind Leora. They struck at the heart of the alien advance, exploiting weaknesses discovered in weeks of brutal learning. Sparks flew as energy cores faltered, machines toppled, and the alien ranks wavered. For every machine destroyed, humans pressed forward, relentless and unforgiving, amid the chaos. Elias faced an alien commander unlike any before, a towering monstrosity that radiated intelligence and menace. Its red eyes glowed, scanning, calculating, expecting fear, expecting surrender. But Elias did not flinch. He raised his weapon, not with the thought of killing alone, but with the fury of every human who had suffered, survived, and refused to bow. The battle became a dance of ingenuity and courage. Explosions rocked the streets, collapsing walls and sending debris into the night. Humans used every advantage: fire, cunning, agility, and sheer will. Mira's small voice rang in Elias's mind. "We can do this, Papa." And they did. The alien commander faltered under relentless human assault. Sparks flew from its armor, energy beams flickered, and in a final, desperate maneuver it fell. Humans surged forward, taking advantage of the chaos, cutting the alien forces into disarray. Machines tumbled, smoke and fire rising like the crescendo of a symphony composed by the human heart itself. Elias stood amidst the ruins, Mira at his side, and watched the alien armies retreat. The city was battered yet victorious. Humans had not only survived, they had conquered. And in that conquest lay something far greater than victory, proof of the indomitable human spirit. Leora approached, her face streaked with soot, but shining with pride. "Look at them," she said, gesturing toward the surviving humans. "They are not just survivors, they are legends. Every act of courage, every mind that thought, every heart that refused to surrender. That is what has won this war." Elias held Mira close. "This is only the beginning," he said softly, the words carrying weight and hope. "Legends do not end in one battle. They grow, they inspire, they endure. Humanity, we are unstoppable when we believe in ourselves." Above the city, the fires of battle smoldered, sending smoke and sparks into the dawn. Yet within that smoke was something untouchable, invisible, yet undeniable. The legacy of humanity. Savage in spirit, relentless in courage, unstoppable in will. The alien armies, once towering and terrifying, were now memories of failure, shattered by ingenuity, bravery, and heart. Humanity had shown the universe that survival alone was not enough. They could triumph against hopeless odds, that courage and unity could turn despair into victory, and that legends were forged not by fear, but by the refusal to surrender. Elias looked at Mira, then at Leora, then at the humans around him. Their faces were weary, their bodies scarred, yet their eyes burned with something immortal. Hope, courage, defiance. These were the true weapons of humanity. And in that moment, a new era began. The story of Arlen, of ordinary humans defying impossible odds, would echo through time and space. Savage humanity had turned hopeless alien armies to dust, and in doing so had begun legends that would inspire generations to come. Because humanity, Elias realized, was more than flesh and bone. Humanity was fire, humanity was spirit, and humanity was unstoppable.